Hey guys, tonight we're doing something a little more recent. Less castles and plague, more sandstorms and stress-induced stomach ulcers. We're diving into what life was really like for US soldiers during the Iraq War. Spoiler, you wouldn't have made it. Not because you're weak, but because literally no one was strong enough for this. They just did it anyway. So before you settle in, maybe adjust your pillow, take a sip of water that won't give you dysentery, and hit like or subscribe if you find this kind of content soothing in a strange, masochistic way. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Always cool to see who's trying to fall asleep to descriptions of military-grade misery. Okay, lights down, fan on, blanket over the foot, but not the whole leg, because you're still unsure about that shadow in the corner. Let's begin. Congratulations. You've just been deployed to Iraq. It's the early 2000s. Your phone has buttons, your jeans are too wide, and someone just handed you a rifle with your name taped to the buttstock. You blink in confusion, not because you're scared, but because you didn't sleep on the flight over, and now your entire body is oscillating between fight, flight, and maybe just lying down on the tarmac. There's no warm welcome, no parade, just heat. Heat that crawls into your uniform and sets up camp in your armpits. The second thing you notice is the smell. It's not one smell, it's a collection. Burning rubber, diesel fuel, sweat, sand, and the ghost of every MRE ever eaten in a vehicle. It hits your nose like a punch that doesn't leave a bruise. You were probably told this was a war for freedom or safety or democracy. You don't really know. What you do know is that someone just told you to grab your bags, even though you're already carrying 4 of them, and your helmet is slowly sliding down your forehead like a heavy, stupid headband made of regret. There's no hotel, no room key, no fresh towel folded into a swan. Just a cot with a camouflage net overhead and a duffel bag that smells like it was packed inside a tyre fire. Someone tells you to hydrate. You nod. You drink water from a plastic bottle that's been in the sun so long it tastes like it came from the inside of a melted lawn chair. No one's smiling. They're not angry, just tired. There's a difference. This isn't the kind of tired you fix with coffee. It's the kind that lives in the muscles behind your eyes and in the way people sit like their bones gave up. You notice your boots don't fit quite right. Too bad. They're yours now. Blisters? Sure. But so are landmines, so keep it in perspective. Orientation is a blur. There are briefings, acronyms, charts with red arrows pointing at things that definitely want to kill you. You're supposed to memorize the chain of command, radio call signs, convoy procedures, IED indicators, basic Arabic phrases, and how to properly clean a weapon you've only fired once. You nod like you understand. You don't. No one really does. They just act like it until it becomes muscle memory, or you die trying. You're not scared. Not yet. You're overwhelmed. Your senses are taking turns panicking. One moment it's your ears from the roar of Black Hawks overhead. The next it's your eyes from squinting against the sun, reflecting off the dust-covered windshields of Humvees. Everything here is beige. The ground, the buildings, the uniforms. Even the shadows feel tan. Sleep is a rumour, the kind passed along like gossip in the cowline. I heard someone got 4 hours last night. Lies. Everyone runs on caffeine, adrenaline, and the slow burning resentment of having to shave every morning with a plastic razor and a canteen of water that smells like chlorine and broken promises. You're told to keep your weapon with you at all times. This isn't a suggestion. It's like your third arm now. You eat with it, slung over your back. You use the bathroom with it, leaning awkwardly against the wall of a porta-john that's 400 degrees inside, and somehow still full. You sleep with it beside you like a bad relationship you're too tired to leave. No one tells you when it's going to get easier, because it doesn't. You just get used to it. You stop noticing the dust in your teeth, the weight of your gear, the way your lower back has started to fold in protest. You adapt, not because it's noble, but because it's the only option that doesn't end in a medical discharge. You watch someone take apart their rifle for the 10th time in an hour, not because it needs cleaning, but because keeping your hands busy keeps your mind from spinning. You wonder if it's always been this hot, or if the sun is just personally offended by your presence. Someone cracks a joke. It's not funny. But everyone laughs because it's the first sound that isn't orders or engines or shouting. You make eye contact with another soldier. They look like you, tired, dusty, holding it together with a sweat and duct tape. You nod. They nod back. That's friendship here. Quiet acknowledgement of shared suffering. You check your watch. It's broken. Or maybe time is. The days blur together. There's no Monday, no weekend. Just light, then dark, then light again. Meals are dictated by availability, not hunger. You eat when you can. You sleep when you're allowed. You exist in the in-between. And this is only your first day. You don't wake up. You're jolted. There's no gentle transition from sleep to wakefulness. No sunrise to a bedroom window. No bird song. Just a voice. Somewhere between a shout and a personal attack. Barking your name like it owes you money. It's 04:30. That's military for too early to function. And someone's already yelling. The lights don't come on. Because there are no lights. Just flashlights waving like frantic ghosts across the inside of the tent. Everything smells like foot powder and regret. You reach for your boots in the dark, stub your toe on a duffel bag, and knock over your canteen, which immediately soaks the last pair of socks you brought that didn't already feel like boiled denim. No one says good morning. That phrase doesn't exist here. There's just noise, motion, and the unmistakable sound of someone trying to put on body armour too fast and hitting themselves in the face with their own ceramic plate. It's a beautiful mess. A symphony of Velcro, groans, and half-muttered curse words. You sit up too fast and regret it. Your spine audibly complains. Your neck doesn't bend so much as creak. You slept on a cot made of metal and pessimism. Thin green nylon stretched over a frame that somehow hurts more than sleeping on gravel. Your sleeping bag is damp. From what? Sweat? Condensation? The slow accumulation of despair? Doesn't matter. Everything's wet and you're not asking questions. Outside, the generators are already going. That's the diesel smell. Thick and constant, like someone poured gasoline into a barbecue pit and called it breakfast. You breathe it in and wonder what your lungs looked like yesterday, before the deployment, before the fumes, the dust, and the creeping feeling that your alveoli are slowly filing for retirement. You shuffle into your gear. It's not clothes, it's a punishment in layers. Undershirt, uniform top, bulletproof vest that weighs more than your childhood dreams. Kevlar helmet that pinches your temples in exactly the spot where your last good thought used to live. You strap everything on like a knight. If knights were exhausted 20-year-olds with lower back pain and a 70-pound loadout. There's a checklist you're supposed to do. You know it because someone taped it to the inside of your wall locker back at base. You don't look at it. You just run your hands over your pouches and mutter, mag, tourniquet, radio, gloves, stupid little notebook that no one actually writes in. Good enough. You forgot your extra batteries again. Too bad. They'll probably make you dig a trench about it later. Someone in the tent is already outside doing push-ups. Not for fun. Probably punishment. You don't ask. You just note it like you'd note a thunderstorm in the distance. Loud, annoying, inevitable. The sun isn't up, but the sky is turning that weird pre-dawn shade of grey that makes everything look like it was painted in sadness. You step out of the tent and into a fine layer of dust that immediately coats your boots, your pant legs, your soul. There's wind, but it doesn't cool you. It just relocates the dust from your knees to your eyeballs. You squint toward the Humvees. They're parked in formation like tired elephants, covered in layers of grime and rust-proof hope. Someone's checking the oil in one of them with a face that says they'd rather be anywhere else, including a dentist's office or a tax audit. Another soldier is dragging a case of bottled water like it personally insulted them. The smell of chow is technically present, but it's not food. It's the memory of food. Powdered eggs that never quite reconstitute, and sausage that tastes like someone whispered pork at a sponge. You're told to eat something. You do. Not because you're hungry, but because if you don't, you'll pass out the first time you try to lift your rifle. You grab a tray, scoop some yellow paste next to what might be hash browns, or might be a shredded MRE wrapper, and sit on a plastic chair that gives up under your weight for a second before remembering its job. No one talks much. The new guys sit too straight. The vets slump like laundry. There's coffee, but it's closer to battery acid in taste and colour. Still, you drink it. It's hot and bitter and makes your heart kick a little harder than it should. You stare at your tray like it might explain something. It doesn't. Then comes the brief. It's called a brief, but it goes on forever. Someone stands at the front, points at maps, uses terms like AO and ROE, and you nod like you understand. You don't. You write down a few acronyms in your notebook that you will absolutely never look at again. Someone asks a question that makes sense, and the answer is so vague you wonder if it was even in English. The rules of engagement are reviewed. Don't shoot unless shot at. Confirm identification. Positive PID. Only fire when you're sure. Be ready to not be sure. Be aware that being sure too late might get you, or someone next to you killed. Someone makes a joke, no one laughs. There's a lot of talk about IEDs, improvised explosive devices. The phrase is too long for how fast they kill you. Then it's back to the trucks. Time to mount up. That's the phrase. Mount up. Like you're about to ride into the Wild West, except your horse is a 5-ton metal box with busted air conditioning and a lingering smell of sour feet and plastic explosives. You climb in. It's not elegant. It's a process. Your gear snags on everything. Your rifle bangs against your knee. Your helmet shifts forward and blocks your vision. The seat is not a seat. It's a suggestion. Your knees are against your chest, your back's at a 45-degree angle, and your legs are asleep before you even start moving. Then the engine turns over, and the whole vehicle shakes like it's about to sneeze itself into oblivion. The gunner climbs up into the turret. You glance up at them, knowing full well they're the one person whose day is somehow worse than yours. Standing, exposed, head on a swivel. The first to see trouble. The first to get hit. You strap in, helmet tight. Weapon loaded but unsafe. Eyes scanning the road ahead, even though it's still dark, and the only thing visible is the cloud of dust from the vehicle in front of you. Your headset crackles. Voices come through. Muffled, clipped, calm in a way that's not reassuring. Just numb. You don't know where you're going exactly. Just that it's outside the wire. Outside the safe zone. If such a thing exists. You've rehearsed this. Run drills. Simulated contact. Practiced dismounts. But now it's real. And your stomach knows it. It twists. Quietly. Like it's trying not to make a scene. Someone calls out the time. Someone else checks their watch. You sit there, humming with adrenaline you didn't ask for. Staring at a road that might be clear, or might be mined, or might just suddenly vanish under you in a flash of light and fire. And yet, weirdly, you feel calm. Because you don't have a choice. When the patrol ends, you don't really come back. Your body does, but your brain is still out there on the road, replaying potholes that might have been pressure plates and locals who stared too long or didn't stare at all. You unstrap yourself from the vehicle like a dislocated action figure, stumble out onto hard-packed gravel, and take a breath that feels more like sandpaper than oxygen. You made it back to base. Which sounds safe. It's not. It's just less immediately dangerous. A place where the loud noises are usually training or equipment malfunctions, not incoming fire. Usually. Your home is not a building. It's not a barracks. There's no hallway, no carpet, no door you can lock. It's a tent. A big, khaki-coloured fabric rectangle held up by metal poles and sandbags. It flaps in the wind like an overworked tarp, and smells like everyone who's ever lived in it decided deodorant was for civilians. Inside, the air doesn't move. It hangs there. Warm, moist, full of secrets. It's the kind of heat that clings to your skin and whispers in your ear. You're not getting dry ever again. There's a small AC unit bolted into one side, but it's less an air conditioner and more a loud box that occasionally exhales lukewarm disappointment. Your cot is exactly where you left it, wedged between two others. Close enough that if the guy next to you turns over in his sleep, his elbow will brush your ribs. Again. It's made of green canvas stretched across an aluminum frame that was definitely engineered to survive a nuclear blast, but not basic human comfort. You sit on it. It squeaks like it's judging you. Under the cot is your duffel. Inside the duffel is your entire life. 3 shirts, 2 pairs of socks you don't trust, a toothbrush that tastes faintly of plastic and chlorine, a stack of letters you haven't opened yet because you're not sure if they'll make you feel better or worse. You don't unpack. There's nowhere to put anything. Just your cot, your boots, your rifle. Personal space doesn't exist. Every tent has its own soundtrack. Snoring, coughing, someone flipping pages of a book they're not really reading, someone else whispering into a satellite phone like it's a prayer. Privacy is a myth. You change your socks with military precision and hope no one notices the blisters that look like they have been auditioning for a medical journal. The ground is a mix of dust and gravel that sticks to everything. It's in your sleeping bag. It's on your pillow. It's fused with a sweat on the back of your neck in a way that feels permanent. There's a fan somewhere, rotating just enough to make you aware of how little air it's actually pushing. Your uniform is drenched, not damp, not sweaty, drenched. You peel it off like old wallpaper and hang it on the side of the cot, where it will remain exactly as wet 6 hours from now. You put on a clean shirt. It's instantly soaked. Welcome to Iraq, where the temperature is 115 in the shade and the humidity hovers somewhere between steam room and inside a sock. You're told to hydrate. You nod and chug a bottle of warm water that tastes like plastic and backwash. You know it won't be enough. You know you'll still wake up dehydrated, head pounding like it's playing its own drum solo. But you do it anyway, because if you don't, someone will find you face down next to your cot, and the paperwork will be unbearable. The tent has rules, unspoken ones. Don't talk too loud. Don't move someone's stuff. Don't complain unless it's funny. If someone's sleeping, you tiptoe like a guilty raccoon. If someone's awake but staring at the ceiling, you leave them alone. There's a mutual understanding. We're all broken in here, just at different levels of fragmentation. There's no clock. Time is measured in patrols, meals, and the distant rumble of things that may or may not be relevant to your survival. You nap when you can. You rest with one boot on, just in case. You dream in fragments, traffic jams, missed flights, something about a gas station back home. Then you wake up sweating, and it's still the same tent, the same dust, the same wet uniform waiting to cling to your body like a bad decision. Mail call happens sometimes. A guy walks in with a box, mumbles some names. You get a package. It's from your mum. Inside, socks, candy, a tiny thing of hand sanitizer, a note written in cursive that makes you feel like you're 5 years old again and somehow also 85. You eat the candy slowly, one piece at a time, like it's gold. The socks are worn on special occasions. The hand sanitizer is traded for AA batteries. You hear a fight in the next tent over. Not fists, words. Loud, tired words that say, "I've had enough," without ever actually saying it. You pretend you didn't hear. You stare at the ceiling, which is a tarp sagging with the weight of old heat and older resentment. Eventually, you try to sleep. You lie down on the cot. Your rifle within reach. Your helmet hanging from the bedpost like a warning. Your earplugs in, even though they barely help. You close your eyes and try to pretend the world outside doesn't exist. You almost succeed. Then someone sneezes. Loud, wet, from 2 feet away. You start the whole process over. And this isn't temporary. This is your new address. Your mailing label says Apo, but it might as well say middle of nowhere with sand in your teeth. You don't decorate, you don't rearrange, you endure. The cot digs into your shoulder blades, the sweat never dries, the fan squeaks, and somewhere outside, a generator hums like it's singing you to sleep in a language made of exhaust and failure. Tomorrow you wake up in the same cot, in the same heat, with the same sweat, and you'll do it all again, because this is what passes for home now. Not walls, not warmth, just a cot, a tent, and the comforting knowledge that everyone around you is just as uncomfortable as you are. Eventually, someone tells you it's your turn to shower. It's not an invitation. It's more of a social hint that you now officially smell worse than the porta-johns. You nod. Say thanks. Like you've just been offered a vacation instead of a half-functional water pipe that sprays misery. You grab your towel. It's stiff from yesterday. Or maybe from the week before. You're not sure anymore. Laundry here is mythical. Your soap is in a Ziploc bag that leaks. Your shower shoes are 2 pieces of black rubber that have fused with your sweat into something resembling a biological experiment. But they're required. Because the only thing worse than what's on your skin is what's waiting on the shower floor. The shower tent is about a 5-minute walk from your living area, depending on how much gear you're willing to carry, and how much self-respect you've got left. You bring your weapon, of course. Everyone does. It hangs from a hook while you bathe, like a judgmental roommate watching you try to scrub your sins away. From the outside, the shower tent looks like everything else on base. Tan, faded, and vaguely hostile. A long rectangle of fabric supported by poles that look like they were salvaged from a wind-damaged jungle gym. Inside, it's a maze of plastic curtains, rubber mats, and the echoes of regret. There's always someone in there already. You try not to make eye contact. There are 2 options for water: cold and never warm. Some days it comes out like ice. Other days it comes out like it passed through an old radiator. Neither is refreshing. Both are punishment. You turn the knob and it squeals in protest, spitting out a brownish stream before reluctantly shifting to clear. You undress quickly. Not because you're modest, but because standing still means sweating. Again. Always. The humidity inside the tent is roughly equal to a Florida swamp stuffed into a Ziploc bag and left on the dashboard. Your turn comes. You step onto the mat. It's wet. Always wet. But not in a clean way. It's wet in a how many strangers have bled athlete's foot into the surface kind of way. You shudder. You don't stop. You don't have time. Military showers aren't showers. They're speed drills. You get 60 seconds, maybe 90, depending on pressure, and who's waiting outside with a watch and 0 patience. You turn the water on, lather, scrub, rinse, and question your life choices all in one frantic blur of motion. You drop your soap once. You don't pick it up. It's dead to you now. You rinse the parts of your body that itch the most. Armpits, groin, feet, maybe your face if you're feeling lucky. The rest gets a courtesy splash. Your shampoo is 3 in 1. Body wash, shampoo, and subtle despair. You rinse fast. Miss a spot. Don't care. Water hits your face and you think, for half a second, this isn't so bad. Then it cuts off mid-rinse like it's tired of helping you. You fumble for the knob, it doesn't turn. Or maybe your hands are just too slippery. Either way, you exit soaking wet, dripping onto a floor that smells like mildew and antiseptic. You dry off with a towel that hasn't been fully dry since it left the PX shrink wrap 3 months ago. Your skin is raw, not from cleanliness, from friction. You throw on your clothes like a firefighter late for a blaze, except your emergency is, don't get athlete's foot on your waistband. Outside, the sun greets you again, like an enemy pretending to be polite. Your damp shirt instantly transforms into a second skin. Your boots squelch slightly. You're technically clean, but only for the next 5 minutes. Back at the tent, someone asks, "How was it?" You shrug. Say, "Better than nothing?" Everyone knows that's a lie, but it's the only rating showers get out here. There's no hot water, no steam, no scented soap or clean tiles. Just a hose, a curtain, and the hope that whatever was growing between your toes has been temporarily set back a few days. You feel human for about 6 minutes. Then your back starts to sweat. Again. You sit on your cot. Shirt already sticking. Hair still dripping. Boots damp. You look around and realise the only real purpose of the shower is to remind you how gross you were before, and how gross you'll be again by nightfall. You grab your rifle, check the chamber, even though you already know it's clear, and lean it against your cot. The shower's over. Your reward is slightly cleaner underwear, and a lingering awareness that you're still marinating in a constant state of microbial warfare. There's no such thing as fresh here, only temporarily less foul. and you'll be back tomorrow, or the day after. Whenever your body odour threatens to breach NATO agreements. But for now, you sit in your tent, wrapped in the illusion of hygiene, and wait for the next time someone tells you to move, gear up, or go. Because there's always a next time. You don't eat breakfast because you're hungry. You eat it because it's time. Because someone said ciao, and your legs moved before your brain had a say in the matter. It's early. Still dark in the corners of the tent. Your body's unsure if it just woke up or never actually slept. Either way, you're moving now. That's what counts. You grab your gear like it's part of your skin. Helmet, rifle, gloves. Even if you're just walking to the chow hall, you bring it all. Because the one time you don't is the one time you'll regret it. You walk in a slow line of half-awake bodies that smell like antiseptic, dried sweat and fatigue. No one talks much. The only sound is boots on gravel and the occasional cough that sounds like it came from someone twice your age. The dining facility is a giant air-conditioned box that hums like an industrial freezer with abandonment issues. It's one of the few places on base that doesn't feel like it's actively trying to kill you, just passively disappointing you. You show your ID, flash it at a civilian contractor who doesn't look up from his clipboard. He waves you through without a word. You're not sure he's blinked since 2004. The smell hits first. It's not bad, just bland, like someone microwaved a memory of food. You grab a tray, slide it along a metal rail, and approach the line. There are options, technically. Scrambled eggs, which are more yellow mush than anything resembling poultry. Some sausage links that bounce slightly when dropped. A scoop of something brown labelled gravy, but probably not legally allowed to be called that outside a war zone. The eggs are powdered, always. Not just dehydrated. Pulverised, reformulated, rehydrated, and somehow drained of all joy. They taste like warm drywall with a hint of salt substitute. You scoop them anyway. Because calories matter. Because you don't know when your next meal will be hot. Because this is what's available. Next to the eggs is a bin of hash browns. They're soggy in the middle, crispy around the edges, and taste like they've been reheated from a future timeline where potatoes went extinct. You throw them on the tray, grab a biscuit, and avoid the gravy because someone once described it as meat fog, and you've never looked at it the same since. You get coffee, if it can be called that. It's thick, black, viscous, served from a metal container that looks like it was used during Desert Storm, and hasn't been cleaned since. You sip it and immediately regret your life choices. It's hot at least. It burns your throat on the way down, and jump-starts your brain just enough to remind you how tired you are. The dining area is loud in a quiet way. Forks clink, boots thud. Conversations are muted, mostly grunts and acronyms. Someone's talking about a new rotation schedule. Someone else is complaining about their weapon being reissued with a bent charging handle. You're not really listening. You're focused on chewing, slowly, mechanically, like a cow going through the motions. The biscuit crumbles in your mouth like drywall mixed with chalk. The sausage is weirdly chewy, and not in a good way. You don't ask what part of the pig it came from. You don't ask if it even involved a pig. You just eat it, because your body needs protein, and your brain needs something to do besides worry about patrol routes and rules of engagement. Across from you, a guy's pouring hot sauce over everything. A lot of it. like he's trying to kill whatever microbes are still alive in the food, or just punish himself for surviving another morning. You nod at him. He nod back. You don't speak. That would require energy and emotional bandwidth you haven't unlocked yet. Someone gets up too fast and knocks over their tray. It hits the floor with a dull slap, and the smell of processed eggs instantly intensifies. No one laughs, no one reacts. He just curses softly, picks it up, and shovels back to the line. The only thing worse than eating Chow Hall eggs is not eating Chow Hall eggs. There's a small rack of cereal boxes by the door. All of them are off-brand. Toasty Flakes, Cinna-O's, Fruit Rounds. You take a box of something vaguely resembling bran, pour it into a plastic bowl, add lukewarm milk from a silver dispenser that clicks and spits like it's having a tantrum. You eat it dry, crunchy, lifeless? Exactly what you expected. If you're lucky, someone brought peanut butter. You spread it on a cracker with a plastic spoon. It tears the cracker in half. You eat both pieces anyway. Sugar's rare here. Real sugar, that is. There are energy drinks, sure, protein bars, but they all taste like chemicals and broken dreams. You stash a tiny jelly packet in your pocket like it's a treasure. After breakfast, you stand for a moment, let the food settle into your gut like wet cement. You breathe through your mouth because the combination of hot eggs, feet, and hand sanitizer is starting to feel sentient. You dump your tray, wipe it off with a paper towel that dissolves on contact, and head back into the light. Outside, the sun is higher now, the heat rising off the gravel in visible waves. Your shirt sticks to your back instantly. You're already sweating again. The calories you just consumed are being converted directly into liquid discomfort and slow digestion. You wipe your forehead with a sleeve already crusted with yesterday's effort and wonder if this is what normal feels like now. Breakfast doesn't fill you up. It just fills the space where hunger would have lived. It's a placeholder. Something to keep you upright until the next MRE, or until lunch, whichever comes first. You're not sure you even taste it anymore. It just happens. And then it's over. You head back toward your unit, past the concrete barriers, past the plywood signs someone hand-painted with dark humour and too much free time. You check your gear again. Gloves, helmet, radio, everything in place. Someone tells you to be ready in 10. Briefing in the TOC, then weapons check, then roll out. You nod. Mouth dry. Stomach full of disappointment and processed protein. Another day, same schedule, same powdered eggs, same quiet understanding that this isn't about being ready. It's about pretending you are long enough to get through it. You never get used to the weight. You think you will, that one day your spine will stop protesting and your shoulders will stop throbbing. They won't. You just stop noticing the difference between discomfort and normal. The armour goes on, and with it, your last ounce of personal freedom. First comes the uniform, still stiff from yesterday's sweat. You pull it on like a wrinkled exoskeleton that hates you. The pants are baggy but somehow still manage to crush your kneecaps when you crouch. The top smells like every bad decision you've made since arriving. You don't question the stains anymore. They're probably yours. Next is the vest. It doesn't look heavy when you first pick it up. Then it hits your chest like a sandbag full of guilt and ceramic trauma plates. You grunt. Not because you want to, but because your diaphragm has to renegotiate with gravity every time you lift the thing. You flip it over your head, twist awkwardly, and fumble with the side straps like a turtle learning how to get dressed in a phone booth. It doesn't fit quite right. It never does. There's always a pinch somewhere between your ribs and your soul. The shoulder pads dig into your collarbones with the gentle pressure of a blunt cleaver. You shift, adjust, pull, retighten, and eventually just give up. Comfort is a civilian concept. Attached to your vest are all the things designed to keep you alive long enough to be uncomfortable again tomorrow. Magazines, tourniquet, pouch with medical shears you've never used but keep just in case. Some guys carry cigarettes. Some carry a small notebook. One guy keeps a picture of his dog laminated and tucked into a side pocket like emotional armour. You respect it. Then comes the helmet. Kevlar. Heavy. Padded. Smells like every person who's ever worn it was trapped in a sauna while contemplating their own mortality. You strap it under your chin. Too tight and it cuts off circulation. Too loose and it bounces round like a brick taped to a basketball. You go with slightly too tight and hope the headache waits until after patrol. Add the gloves. Fingerless if you're optimistic. Full coverage if you're realistic. They don't breathe. They trap heat and grime like they're trying to farm bacteria. But they protect your hands when you inevitably fall, slam your knuckles into a rifle mount, or grab something you probably shouldn't have touched. Now the boots, laced, double knotted, still wet from yesterday's sweat, because nothing ever really dries out here. They were broken in 2 months ago. So was your will to argue about it. You stand, shift your weight, and feel the familiar ache in your arches. Your feet are already sweating again, like they know what's coming. You check your gear. Again. You always do. Not because you forgot anything, but because one missed strap, one loose buckle, one absent magazine means the difference between complaining later and not being around to complain at all. Your fingers run the route like a ritual. Plate carrier tight, radio secured, weapon charged but unsafe. You slap the side of your rifle like you're reassuring a nervous dog. Someone nearby is adjusting their gear for the 5th time. Another is re-wrapping their knee with duct tape because the brace gave out 2 weeks ago, and supply hasn't replaced it. You all look like overburdened turtles trying to look like soldiers. Your neck is stiff. Your back's already sore. You haven't even stepped into the vehicle yet. It's not just the physical weight. It's the constant awareness that everything you're wearing is either meant to save your life or remind you how easily it can be taken. You feel every pound of it, not just in your joints but in your brain. It's exhausting, and it's non-negotiable. You squat to pick up your bag. Your vest shifts, digs in. The edge of your side plate catches your ribcage. You grunt again. That's 2 today. A new personal record. You sling the bag over your shoulder and feel your spine register a formal complaint with your knees. You ignore it. They'll get over it. The heat hasn't even peaked yet. You're already soaked. Sweat drips down your back and pools in places no fabric was designed to handle. You wipe your face with a sleeve, which is somehow wetter than your forehead. There's a smell coming off your gear now. It's you, but older, saltier, and more disappointing. You walk like you're wearing a punishment. Because you are. Every step in full kit is a negotiation with gravity and regret. There's a rhythm to it. Boot, boot, shift, grunt. Boot, boot, adjust, sigh. You stop noticing the pain until you stop moving. Then it comes back like a debt collector. Inside the vehicle, you wedge yourself into a seat made for a smaller, flatter version of a human. The vest makes it hard to breathe. The helmet thumps the roof every time the truck hits a bump. Your legs go numb. Your arms tingle. Your back threatens mutiny. You try not to complain. Everyone's in the same boat. That boat is on fire. Someone mutters something about just lightening the load, and everyone laughs. The kind of laugh that's halfway between humour and hysteria. No one actually takes anything off. You can't. That's the point. The gear's the one thing keeping you alive, even if it feels like it's actively trying to kill you. At some point, someone will say you get used to it, that your muscles adapt, that your body compensates. Maybe. But even if it does, your brain never quite does. The weight is always there, pressing, reminding, nagging. It's in the way you sit, the way you move, the way you try to sleep and realise your shoulders are stuck in a shrug you can't undo. And this is your life now. Every day you put on the same weight. You carry the same gear. You haul the same doubts and discomforts across a landscape that doesn't care if your hips ache or your skin's rubbed raw. You strap in, suck it up, and hope nothing goes wrong today. Because nothing going wrong is the best case scenario. And even that feels heavy. Eventually, nature calls. And it doesn't care that you're in full kit, holding a rifle, and standing in a country where indoor plumbing is a luxury reserved for the imaginary. You try to ignore it, try to will it away. But the human body has its limits, and yours just hit theirs somewhere between powdered eggs and your third bottle of warm water. So you go. Not to a bathroom. There is no bathroom. No porcelain throne, no white tiles or scented soap. Just a row of blue plastic boxes lined up along the edge of the gravel lot like an ominous row of punishment booths. Porta-johns, portable toilets, plastic sarcophagi for the dignity you're about to lose. You walk toward them slowly, like a condemned man. The heat hits harder as you get closer. Not regular heat. This is different. It radiates off the porta-john like a personal vendetta. You feel it before you even open the door, like standing too close to the mouth of a pizza oven that smells like feet, ammonia, and chemical warfare. You open the door. Big mistake. The air inside doesn't move. It's thick. It punches you in the face like a damp oven mitt soaked in hot bleach and failure. You hold your breath, but it's too late. The smell is already in your nose, your eyes, your brain. You step inside anyway, because you're committed now. You came this far. The door shuts behind you with a plastic thunk, sealing you in with your regrets. There's no fan, no window. Just a vent that hasn't worked since the Bush administration, and a small hole in the roof that lets in exactly enough sunlight to remind you that God is watching and doing nothing to help. You turn around slowly like you're afraid to startle something. The seat is there. Stained. Warped. Glossy in a way that shouldn't be possible. Yet the floor is sticky. With what? No one knows. You don't want to know. You plant your feet wide for balance and pray you don't slip. Because if you fall in here, you're not coming out clean. Maybe not coming out at all. If you're lucky, there's a small roll of toilet paper hanging from a rusted wire. If you're not, there's a single moist napkin balled in the corner, staring at you like a dare. You didn't bring your own. You forgot. Again. You make do. That phrase has never felt more literal. You try to be fast. Efficient. This is not the place for reflection. This is not where you contemplate your life choices. This is where you execute a mission. Relieve yourself and get out alive. But speed is tricky when you're wearing 70 pounds of gear and trying not to let anything touch anything else. You can't sit. You squat, awkwardly, like a folding chair with a broken leg. Your rifle slaps against your chest. Your vest digs into your thighs. Your helmet tips forward. You feel sweat running down your spine in streams. You're not sure if that's sweat or just the plastic air melting your skin. Then the door rattles. Someone's waiting. Of course they are. They knock. Twice. Passive-aggressively. As if to say, hurry up in there, we all want to suffer too. You grunt back something non-verbal. A universal sound that says, if I move any faster, I will explode. You finish, sort of. You use the paper, carefully, like it might disintegrate. You hold your breath for the final flush, which is not really a flush, but a blue chemical whirlpool that gurgles like it's dying. Then you stand, zip, adjust your gear, and push the door open like it's a jail cell. The fresh air outside feels like salvation. Not because it's cool, it's not. It's 130 degrees and climbing, but because it's not that. You blink. Your pupils recalibrate. You feel like you just escaped a sweat lodge built inside a landfill. Someone walks past you, heading toward the same fate. You make eye contact. Nothing is said. Nothing needs to be. There's a silent bond between those who've survived the Porta-John. An unspoken agreement. We don't talk about what happened in there, ever. Your hands feel unclean, not just physically, spiritually. You find the hand sanitizer dispenser mounted on a plywood stand near the tents. It's empty. It's always empty. You slap the button 3 times anyway. Nothing. You wipe your palms on your pants like that's better. It's not. You walk back toward the staging area. Lighter now, technically, but somehow more weighed down. Something inside you changed in there. Something was taken from you. Not your pride. That left days ago. Something deeper. Maybe your ability to enjoy indoor plumbing without flashbacks. The worst part, you'll be back. Maybe not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But eventually. When the coffee, MREs and heat catch up with you again, the cycle will repeat. You'll grab your gear. You'll march across the gravel. You'll pick the least horrifying plastic coffin, and you'll do what must be done. Because in Iraq, every soldier fights 2 wars. The one outside the wire, and the one inside the Porta-John. You find out you're on convoy duty about 5 minutes after breakfast. You're not surprised. No one is. Orders come fast, loose, and wrapped in just enough vagueness to keep your blood pressure elevated. You nod when they tell you. Like you expected it. Like you're totally fine with spending the next 6 hours inside a metal box pretending not to be a target. The prep starts immediately. Load your mags, double check your kit, grab your radio, your gloves, your eyewear, your weapon, your snack. Because yes, even war requires snacks. And get to the motor pool. You're already sweating. You were sweating before you even moved. But now your gear sticks to you like duct tape in a sauna. Your undershirt is a sponge. Your socks feel like they've already been worn through. Your truck is waiting. It's massive, armoured, loud. It looks impressive until you remember that armour doesn't guarantee anything. Just gives you a better chance of surviving the first blast. It smells like motor oil, dust, and stale beef jerky. The turret up top has a gun mounted, belt-fed, and covered in the kind of grime you only get from use and neglect in equal measure. You do the checks, all of them. Tyres, radio, weapons mount, turret rotation, fluids, brakes, ammo count, air pressure in the fire extinguisher. Because of course that matters right now. It's a long list, but no one skips it. One missed bolt or dry radiator, and the whole convoy ends up broken down in the middle of nowhere, waiting for a wrecker and praying nobody's watching. You draw your assignment, Vehicle 3, not the lead, not the last. Just deep enough to feel important and vulnerable at the same time. You grab your seat, middle row, passenger side, enough room to sit if you fold like a lawn chair, and ignore the metal ridge digging into your thigh. Your rifle rests against your leg. Your body armour locks you into place like a seatbelt made of bricks. You wait. You always wait. Convoys don't leave on time. They leave when they're ready, which is always at least 20 minutes after you're fully geared up and slowly cooking from the inside out. Someone outside is shouting about route changes. Someone else is trying to find the guy who has the only working GPS. Everyone else just stares straight ahead, like they've already left the building emotionally. Then the engine rumbles to life. It's a low growl, the kind that vibrates through the soles of your boots and into your spine. The vehicle shifts, rolls forward. The convoy begins. Slowly, cautiously, like it's creeping into a dream you don't want to be part of. You pull out of the gate, that's the moment your heart shifts gears. Inside the wire is one thing. Outside is different. Everything feels like a test. Every bump, every ditch, every idle civilian on the shoulder of the road could be the beginning of a very bad day. Your eyes scan the terrain like it personally offended you. IEDs, 3 letters, every soldier's nightmare. Improvised explosive devices, hidden under the road, in trash piles, in dead animals. You're trained to spot the signs. Disturbed dirt, wires, unusual patterns, fresh paint. But they don't always show themselves. Sometimes they just exist, silent and invisible, until they rip a Humvee in half and scatter metal and lives in every direction. The driver grips the wheel like it's made of glass. You hear them mutter something under their breath every few minutes. It might be a prayer, might be a curse, might just be noise to fill the silence between explosions that haven't happened yet. The gunner's up top, exposed, spinning slow, eyes scanning, hands on the handle of the Huayant 50 cal like it's the only thing between them and a crater. They shift their weight every few minutes. That's how you know the nerves are starting. Once they stop moving, that's when it gets bad. You pass a town, small, low buildings, concrete and cinder blocks stacked like an unfinished Lego set. People watch you from doorways. Kids wave, or throw rocks, or do both. Adults just stare. Blank faces. You don't know what they're thinking. You try not to think about it. Every window could hide a rifle. Every smile could be a distraction. Every stopped car could be wired to detonate when you're close enough to smell the fuel. Your radio crackles. A message comes through. You hear half of it. Something about roadblocks, detours. Someone saw something. They always do. The convoy slows. Your stomach tightens. Slowing down means being visible. Being visible means being vulnerable. You keep your rifle ready. You watch the road. You watch the rooftops. You watch the guy next to you fiddle with his helmet strap for the 3rd time in 5 minutes. The heat inside the truck climbs. There's AC, but it's losing the fight. You're sweating through your gloves. Your eyes sting. Your mouth is dry. You sip water from your tube and try not to think about how many more hours this is going to take. You passed the halfway mark 20 minutes ago. Or maybe 2 hours. Time doesn't move properly out here. Then you see it. Up ahead, a trash pile. Doesn't look like much. Except it wasn't there yesterday. Or the day before. The driver hesitates. The gunner shifts. You raise your rifle instinctively, even though there's no target. Just the possibility of one. You pass it slow, no blast, no movement, just a false alarm. But your heart keeps pounding like it didn't get the message. You keep rolling. Every minute that passes without something happening feels less like luck and more like borrowed time. No one talks. Talking takes energy. Talking makes things real. You ride in silence, just the engine, the road, and the thought that maybe this time you make it. Eventually the convoy turns, back toward base. Radio chatter picks up. People sound more relaxed. Someone makes a joke. You laugh because you're supposed to. Not because it's funny, just because it feels like breathing again. You roll through the gate, past the guard shack, back inside the wire. The moment you cross, the pressure drops. Not all the way, but enough. The truck slows to a crawl. You shift in your seat, and your spine pops in protest. The silence inside the vehicle feels heavier now, like everyone's holding something they don't want to say. You climb out. Stiff, sweaty, shoulders sore, neck aching from 2 hours of scanning rooftops for silhouettes that never appeared. You drop your gear by your cot, sit for a second, breathe, and then someone says it. Same time tomorrow? And of course, the answer is yes. They call it friendly fire. Like adding the word friendly makes it better. Like if the bullet that kills you came from the same flag, it hurts less. It doesn't. The term itself is a joke. A grim punchline that no one laughs at, but everyone understands. Because out here, even your allies can accidentally kill you. And they sometimes do. No one tells you that in training. They teach you the weapons, the formations, the tactics. They show you how to identify the enemy. What they don't emphasize is that the enemy sometimes looks exactly like you, wears the same gear, carries the same rifle, and makes the same mistakes you're about to make. On hour 7 of a 9-hour patrol. It doesn't always happen in combat. Sometimes it's a drill gone sideways, a live round in a blank magazine, a trigger squeezed a second too soon. Sometimes it's a misread grid on a radio transmission that sends a mortar round into the wrong building at the wrong time. All it takes is a number off by 1 digit, and someone's barracks turns into a crater. You hear the stories. You always do. You hear about the unit who lit up their own forward element because they came in from the wrong angle, about the air support that dropped a 500-pound bomb on the wrong coordinates and turned an empty field into a funeral site, about the squad that got ambushed by confusion, not insurgents. And when it happens, it doesn't come with big music or cinematic tragedy. It's fast, messy, quiet in the wrong ways. 1 second, you're watching your sector. The next, someone next to you drops, and no one's sure who fired the round. You scan, you panic. You hold your breath, hoping it wasn't from your own line. Everyone goes on high alert. Voices start shouting call signs. There's confusion. Someone is already on the radio trying to clarify if it was them, or us, or someone pretending to be us, or someone we thought was them who was actually us. It doesn't matter. The damage is already done. The briefings after these events are brutal. They're clinical. Words like incident, miscommunication, and operational error get tossed around like they're talking about a broken printer, not a human body that won't ever move again. They tell you it was a mistake. They always say that, as if that makes it better. There's an investigation, there's paperwork, lots of it. Names, times, trajectories, ballistics. Everyone walks on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing. Because nobody wants to admit that war isn't just about the enemy. Sometimes it's about your own side folding in on itself. The person who pulled the trigger doesn't sleep for days. You see it on their face. That slow erosion behind the eyes. They say they're fine. They're not. They replay the moment over and over in their head, like they could rewind it, change something. But it's done. The round left the barrel. It can't be called back. Even when no one gets hurt, the close calls sit with you. The night patrol, where a friendly unit didn't announce their presence until they were 10 feet away in the dark, and everyone was 1 second from unloading magazines into each other out of pure trained reflex. You get back to the tent and laugh. Nervously. Because what else are you going to do? There's protocol. Of course there is. There's always protocol. Infrared markers. Call-outs. Challenge and passcodes. But protocol doesn't sweat. Protocol doesn't hallucinate from heat exhaustion, or misread a shadow through a dirty windshield, or get spooked by sudden movement after a week of nothing happening. You learn to double check, triple check. You learn the hard way not to assume anything. You hesitate longer. Your finger hovers over the trigger just a little more than it did your first month. Because now you know it's not always the insurgent. Sometimes it's your own guy walking back from the latrine at the wrong time without a comms check, and the phrase rules of engagement starts to sound like a dare. Identify your target, confirm it, get visual confirmation, wait for hostile intent. Hope your interpretation of hostile matches what command decides it was 5 hours later in a room with air conditioning and time to think. Meanwhile, you're out there, dust in your eyes, sweat in your ears, rifle up, seeing something move that looks like it could be a weapon, or a camera, or a shovel, or a kid with bad timing. You blink, and someone behind you whispers, "Hold fire." You don't breathe until it's over. And when it happens to someone else, when another unit reports blue on blue, no one says much. Just a pause, a look, maybe a muttered, "Damn," then silence. Because everyone knows it could have been you, could still be you. Tomorrow, next patrol, 5 minutes from now. The worst part? It's not rare. It's not frequent either. It just happens enough. Enough that it has its own name, its own category, its own line on the casualty report. Enough that every soldier carries the knowledge that being good, being careful, being professional might still not be enough. Out here, friendly fire is a reality, an oxymoron etched in Kevlar and confusion. You train to fight the enemy, but you spend just as much time praying your own team doesn't make a mistake big enough to end you. So you double check your fire lanes. You confirm every target. You don't trust shadows, and you don't trust assumptions. You hope your comms stay clear, your coordinates are right, and your trigger finger listens to your better judgment when adrenaline starts making decisions for you. Because the only thing worse than dying out here is dying by mistake. And the only thing worse than that is being the one who pulled the trigger. The most important piece of equipment isn't your rifle, it's your radio. Because out here, if you can't talk to someone, you don't exist. You're just another heavily armed silhouette in the dust, waiting to be misunderstood. The radio is your lifeline, and like most lifelines in war, it fails just often enough to remind you how fragile everything is. You carry it in a pouch strapped to your shoulder, or wedged into your vest so tight it bruises your ribs every time you breathe. It's black, boxy, covered in Velcro, wires and cryptic numbers. It has buttons you don't press unless you know exactly what they do. One wrong press and you're broadcasting on the wrong frequency to the wrong people with the wrong information at exactly the wrong time. The headset loops behind your ear. The push-to-talk mic is clipped somewhere near your chin. It crackles every so often to remind you that it's still there and still angry about being used. You listen constantly, not because you want to, because you have to. Because someone might say something important, or someone might say something wrong. Static is normal. Full sentences, that's rare. Most of the time it's half words, acronyms and squelch. The occasional burst of yelling you can't fully make out, followed by 3 seconds of silence that feel like a threat. Then someone says, copy, like they understood what just happened. They didn't. No one did. But no one wants to be the guy asking for a repeat every 3 minutes. You learn to translate radio. It's its own language. Brevity codes. Call signs. Reports using formats that feel like algebra problems with live ammunition. Be advised, we have 1 times vehicle, possible hostile intent, northbound, brake, wait out. Then silence. Then someone responds 4 minutes later with a sentence that contradicts everything and ends with over. Sometimes you get conflicting orders. That's the fun part. You're told to hold position. Then 2 minutes later, you're told to push forward. Then someone else tells you to fall back because air support's inbound and everyone needs to clear the area. You sit there, sweating through your gloves, wondering if you should move, stay, or just lie down and wait for someone to explain which way is actually north. Comms blackouts happen. They're not dramatic. They just happen. 1 second you're chatting with your team. The next, nothing. Dead air. Maybe interference. Maybe battery failure. Maybe someone's sitting on the headset. Doesn't matter. You're cut off. And when you're cut off, everything slows down. Every decision becomes heavier. You second guess what's real. Worst is when someone's voice cuts in mid-sentence and vanishes again. Contact on the west side. Static. Repeat last. Say again. Someone says. No response. You wait. You stare out your window. You aim your rifle at a direction that might be west, might be wishful thinking. The air grows thick. Everyone holds still. Then someone says, disregard. That word in military radio language means absolutely nothing has been resolved, but we've decided to stop talking about it. The radios are supposed to be encrypted, secure, clean, but they're also old. Sometimes they work. Sometimes they need a kick, or a battery reset, or to be swapped with the one from the guy who got out of the last patrol early, because he had to clean something. You don't trust the radios, you use them anyway. And then there's the jargon. Everything has an acronym. Everything has a code. ETA 2 mics, grid ref break 9 line coming, Oscar Mike, copy traffic. You nod like you understand. Then spend 10 minutes pretending to double check your gear while mentally translating it into something that resembles logic. Calls for medevac are the worst because they're always fast, loud, chaotic, and just organised enough to sound like control while everything is going to hell. We've got 1 times urgent surgical, requesting CASEVAC, grid coordinates follow. You write it down, but your hand's shaking because someone's bleeding out, and the only thing connecting them to help is this broken string of syllables fighting against static and time. Sometimes you switch to backup frequencies. Sometimes those don't work either. You carry extra batteries. You carry a spare handset. You carry a laminated card with call signs and authentication codes that look like someone spilled alphabet soup on classified paper. Even when the radios work, the chain of command doesn't always. Orders get relayed late, repeated out of order, misinterpreted. You're told to support a squad that was already pulled out 2 hours ago. You're told to engage a target someone else already dealt with. You sit on a street corner, engine running, waiting for instructions that were never meant for you. Eventually, you learn not to panic when the radio goes silent. You just keep moving. You make decisions on your own. You check with your team. You rely on the guy next to you more than the guy 5 clicks away on the other end of a frequency. You stop trusting words that start with command says. But when the radio does work, when someone gets through clearly, when you hear the words you need, when everything aligns for 5 glorious seconds, it feels like a miracle. Like proof that the system isn't entirely broken. Just mostly. You take those 5 seconds and run with them. Because the rest of the time you're guessing, hoping, interpreting half sentences like you're decoding ancient runes while sweating through ballistic nylon in a truck that smells like regret and melted zip ties. And when someone says Roger, out, you click your mic twice. Once for acknowledgement, once for faith. Because out here, radio silence doesn't mean peace. It just means the next sound might be something you don't survive. Sand isn't just part of the environment here. It is the environment. It's not the beach kind either. There's no ocean, no palm trees, no drinks with umbrellas. This sand is fine, angry, and malicious. It doesn't just lie on the ground. It moves, creeps, finds you, like it's on a mission. And that mission is you. At first, you notice it in your boots. That makes sense. You're walking through it. It crunches when you move, rubs against your socks like a slow grinder. Your feet start to blister, then bleed. You duct tape them and pretend it's fine. It's not. But pain here is background noise. Then it gets into your uniform. Waistband, cuffs, shirt collar. It works its way into the fabric like it's trying to become one with you. Your skin reacts immediately, chafing, rash, itching that doesn't stop. You scratch through the layers, but it's no use. The sand has claimed territory now. It's dug in. Your eyes are next. They sting constantly. Doesn't matter if you're wearing goggles. It finds a way in. You blink and feel grit grind across your corneas. You cry reflexively, but that just makes it worse. The tears mix with the dust, turn into mud, and you're wiping your face with a glove that's dirtier than the ground. Your ears get it too. You can't see it happening, but you feel it. A slow build-up, pressure, then muffled hearing. You flush them out with water later, and sand comes out in clumps. Like your head was trying to grow a desert on the inside. You laugh about it, but not hard, because your throat's dry. Always. Your weapon? Forget it. The sand hates your rifle. It slips into every crevice. In the chamber, in the magwell, in the bolt carrier group. You clean it twice a day. Still jams sometimes. Doesn't care how careful you are. One gust of wind, and you're field stripping under the sun, cursing at every tiny grain while someone yells for you to hurry up. Your optic fogs. Your charging handle sticks. The sand mixes with the CLP and creates a new substance, part sludge, part hatred. You wipe it down, but it's a losing battle. Your rifle still works mostly, but you don't trust it. You trust the malfunction drill more than the trigger. It's in your sleeping bag. Doesn't matter how careful you are, it shows up. In your sheets, in your pillow, in your mouth while you sleep. You spit brown for the first 2 weeks. Then you just stop noticing. Everything tastes like dirt anyway. Food, water, chapstick, it's all got a dust coating. It sneaks into your notebooks, scratches the pages like it wants to erase your thoughts, fills the spaces between your toes and behind your knees. It settles in your helmet, right where the padding's supposed to be. You shake it out, it comes back, you give up, you stop shaking, you just wear it. Your laptop, toast. Your phone, dead within a week. Your radio still works, but the buttons are stiff and the screen's permanently scratched. You press transmit and feel the sand in the mic. Even your toothbrush crunches when you use it. Your toothpaste has grit. You don't know how. You don't want to know. When the wind kicks up, everything disappears. Visibility drops to 0. 1 minute you're on patrol, the next you're in a beige fog that stings your skin and fills your nose. You wrap a scarf around your face, but it doesn't help. The sand gets through. It always does. It's inside the scarf, inside your sinuses, inside the seams of your soul. It gets in your coffee, in your water bottle, in your protein bar. You bite down and hear the crunch. You tell yourself it's just peanuts. It's not. You chew anyway. Calories are calories. You're trying to stay clean. You shower when you can. But the moment you step outside, it's over. The wind sticks a fresh layer of sand to your wet skin. It fuses with the sweat, creates a paste, and sets like a clay mask made by someone who hates you. Your pores give up. Your skin starts to crack. You smear Vaseline on your knuckles like it's armour. It lasts 10 minutes. You watch the horizon some nights. The sky is orange, not from the sunset, from dust. It rises off the ground in waves, colouring everything with a warm filter that would be pretty if it didn't come with lung damage. You cough dry, always dry, like trying to exhale through cardboard. Some guys get nosebleeds. Some lose their voice. Some develop a permanent rasp that follows them home like a parting gift. Even the medics stop asking what's wrong after a while. They just hand you saline spray and a bottle of water and tell you not to think about it too much. You dream about sand. Not the ocean kind. The Iraq kind. The kind that sits in your gear and grinds into your teeth and replaces your memories with beige static. You wake up with grit in your eyes and an itch in your throat and the feeling that you've been slowly eroding for months. And the wildest part, you stop fighting it. You make peace with it. Eventually you just let the sand have its way. You stop wiping your gear down every hour. You stop brushing off your pants. You just live in it. Let it settle. Let it claim what it wants. Because out here the sand always wins. Eventually, someone says, "Let's eat," like it's a reward and not a dice roll with your gastrointestinal future. You nod. Not because you're hungry. No one's really hungry out here. You eat because it's a schedule. Because skipping meals means someone notices, and then someone makes it a thing. And the last thing you need today is another thing. So you drag yourself back to the DFAC, that's what they call it, dining facility. Like, giving it a sterile acronym makes it feel less like a converted shipping container filled with folding chairs and quiet judgment. You swipe your card or flash your ID. Nobody looks up. You could walk in wearing a clown suit and someone would still just grunt and wave you through. The smell hits first. It's not bad, not good either, just confusing. It always smells like something's either about to be served or already being punished. A mix of overcooked meat, freezer burn, fryer oil, and industrial cleaner. You stand in line, tray in hand, eyes scanning the offerings like a prisoner at a buffet run by someone who lost their sense of smell and shame. The first option is always chicken. You ask what kind. They say just chicken. It could be grilled, could be baked, could be microwaved straight from a box labelled not for human consumption unless deployed. It sits in a metal tray, half filled with a liquid that doesn't quite qualify as juice or sauce. You poke it, it jiggles. You take it anyway. Next up, vegetables. In theory, it's a spoonful of green beans that have been boiled into submission. Or maybe carrots that went straight from frozen to flavourless without stopping to be food in between. You scoop some. They slide around your tray like they're trying to escape. Then there's starch. Rice, maybe. Or mashed potatoes that taste like drywall paste. On a good day, they serve pasta. On a bad day, it's pasta that's somehow both undercooked and scorched. You never know until it hits your teeth and sends a piece of ceramic plate shooting through your gum line. There's bread. Always. Rolls as hard as emotional trauma. You could throw one through a windshield and it'd keep going. You grab one anyway, because carbs. And because chewing something that fights back reminds you you're still alive. For dessert, there's cake. Technically. Usually some kind of yellow rectangle with frosting applied by someone using a trowel. It's dense, cold, and tastes like it spent 6 months frozen next to engine parts. But it has sugar, so it vanishes fast. You sit down wherever there's space. Rows of long plastic tables. The floor's sticky, the chairs wobble. The AC hums loudly, but unevenly, like it's considering quitting. You eat with your team, but not much is said. Everyone's focused, not on the food, just on finishing it, like it's a chore. A box to tick. The chicken? Somehow dry and wet. A rare duality. You cut into it with your plastic knife and it resists, then tears like wet newspaper. You chew, slowly, methodically, like you're working through a tough memory. Someone across from you pokes their rice with a fork like it might move. Someone else dumps hot sauce on everything and declares it not bad, which means completely dead inside. Halfway through, you notice the food still cold in the centre. You don't stop eating. That's part of the game. Some meals come out overcooked to the point of char. Some are half frozen. It's roulette. Will today's meat be safe, questionable, or spiritual? You don't know. You eat anyway. The drinks are in big steel coolers. Water. Lemonade. Some kind of red thing labelled fruit punch, but chemically indistinguishable from windshield wiper fluid. You fill your plastic cup. It smells faintly of soap. You drink it anyway. Hydration is non-negotiable. Flavour is optional. Someone jokes that the eggs from breakfast are back again as dinner. You laugh. Because it's probably true. Nothing really leaves the defects. It just changes shape. Today's meatloaf was yesterday's mystery meat. Tomorrow it'll be taco filling. You stop asking questions around week 2. There's always a salad bar. It looks fresh if you squint. Lettuce in plastic tubs. Tomatoes that were definitely once tomatoes. Croutons hard enough to count as improvised weapons. Ranch dressing in gallon jugs. You grab a few pieces, drizzle something white over it, and pretend you're eating healthy. At some point, you realise your stomach's turning. You don't know why. Could be the food. Could be the heat. Could be the creeping knowledge that nothing you eat here is real. Just textured calories designed to keep your organs functioning while your soul evaporates into the desert air. Sometimes you get lucky. Chicken nuggets. Burgers. Once, they served actual steak. It was thin, tough, and made you question what part of the animal it came from, but it tasted like hope. People talked about that steak for weeks, like it was a wedding or a sports championship. You finish your tray, dump the leftovers in the bin, slide the tray onto the stack, wipe your hands with a napkin that tears like tissue paper and leaves more grease on your palms than it takes off. Someone near the door says smoke break. You follow them out, not because you smoke, but because you need fresh air. Or the illusion of it. Outside, the sun's still up. The dust is still blowing. Your stomach gurgles like it's negotiating with your intestines. You swallow hard and hope you don't spend the rest of the evening sprinting toward the nearest blue plastic coffin. Because in the chow hall, there are no guarantees, only possibilities. Maybe you'll be fine. Maybe you'll be in a porta-john for 40 minutes, asking God to end it. Maybe you'll just burp up beef flavouring for the next 4 hours. It's the gamble you take every meal, and you'll be back tomorrow because you have to eat. You don't get mail often. When you do, it comes in a beige canvas bag that looks like it's been dragged through 3 continents and dropped from a low-flying aircraft. It gets dumped on a table near the TOC, and someone calls out names like they're reading a casualty list in reverse. The room goes quiet when it happens. Everyone's listening, even if they're pretending not to. Some names get called, some don't. You learn not to expect it. Hoping makes it worse. You get used to the silence that follows your own name not being said, but sometimes, rarely, your name comes up. They say it like it's a surprise. Like, hey, look at that. This one's still got people who remember he exists. You walk over, take the envelope, or the box, or the crumpled letter that's been folded and handled by more strangers than you'll ever meet. It smells faintly of the outside world. Ink, perfume, detergent, normalcy. For a second you hesitate. Holding it feels like holding a live wire. It reminds you you're not from here. That somewhere else, people aren't waking up under camouflage netting and counting the days like prison marks on a tent pole. The letter is handwritten, usually, in pen, blue ink. Someone's loopy handwriting that curves like it was written in peace and daylight. You read it slow, not because it's long, because you're afraid of finishing it too fast. It's a rare thing out here. Words meant just for you, not part of an op order, not in all caps, not a checklist. Your mum asks if you're eating enough. You laugh, not because it's funny, but because you just spent 20 minutes gnawing on a roll that could double as a doorstop. She says the dog misses you. She updates you on neighbours you barely remember. She doesn't ask about the war. Not directly, just says, hope you're staying safe. That's code for please come back in one piece. Sometimes there are photos. They always feel heavier than the paper they're printed on. Your kid holding a crayon drawing. Your girlfriend at a birthday party you forgot was coming up. Your dad grilling in the backyard, wearing a t-shirt that used to be yours. You stare at the picture longer than you want to. You memorize it. Not because you need to, because you don't know when you'll see another one. You fold the letter back up and slide it into your kit, close to your chest, like armour that won't stop bullets, but might stop you from unravelling. You don't mention it to anyone, not directly. Maybe you nod at the guy next to you and say, my sister had a baby, and that's it. That's the conversation. No follow-up questions, no emotional debrief, just facts. Quiet, distant facts. Sometimes you get packages. A shoebox full of snacks, socks and toothpaste. Every item wrapped in love and hope and complete ignorance of what actually works out here. You thank them anyway, because even melted Skittles are a gift. Even a paperback romance novel becomes precious when it means someone thought you had time to read. One guy gets letters every week, neatly written, decorated envelopes, sometimes sprayed with perfume. He doesn't smile when he reads them, not anymore. Rumour is she left him 3 weeks ago, but the letters keep coming because no one told her yet. Or maybe he just doesn't want to know. Another guy never gets mail. Not once. No letters. No boxes. No cards. You ask him about it once. He shrugs. Says he didn't tell anyone where he was going. You nod. Not because it makes sense. Just because you get it. Mail is a double-edged sword. It connects you. Reminds you that life is still happening without you. Birthdays. Holidays. Promotions. Engagements. Breakups. A neighbour's kid made varsity. Your brother got arrested. Your cousin bought a boat. All of it still going. All of it moving forward while you sit here, cleaning your rifle and pretending you're not counting the days by scratch marks in your head. Sometimes the letters hit harder than the missions. You can handle heat, patrols, sandstorms, boredom. But one unexpected sentence in the middle of a page, Grandma passed away last week, and you're wrecked, quietly, invisibly. No one sees it. You just sit there, staring at the words like they're written in a different language. There's no time to process it. No room. You can't go outside and cry. You can't call home and talk it out. You tuck it away, deep. Behind the checklist in your mind, labelled handle later, which is just another word for probably never. You write back when you can, but it's never enough. The words come out stilted, filtered. You don't talk about the mortar round that landed 2 tents away. You don't mention the guy who froze up on Convoy and had to be pulled out by the sergeant. You don't write, "Today I thought about walking into traffic just to feel a different kind of pain." Instead you say things like, "All good here. Weather's hot, food's tolerable, staying busy." You add a dumb joke. Ask how the dog is. Tell them to send more gum. End with "Love you guys, see you soon." You don't know if that last part is true, but it helps to write it. And when the letters stop coming, that's worse. A week goes by, then 2. You check the mail table like it owes you something. Nothing. You wonder if they forgot, or got too busy, or ran out of things to say. Then you realise you've done the same thing to people back home. You feel guilty for being mad. The distance isn't just miles. It's mental, emotional, a slow drift. You're changing. You know it. You just hope they still recognise you when you get back. That there's enough of the old version left to plug back into the world without short-circuiting everything. But you keep the letters. You read them again and again. Some guys carry them folded in a pocket until they fall apart. Others laminate them. One guy taped his girlfriend's note inside his helmet, right under the padding, next to his temple, like a quiet reminder of who he was before this place reprogrammed him. Letters don't fix anything. They don't make the heat less brutal, or the chow better, or the fear go away. But for 5 minutes, they make the world feel slightly bigger than this base, slightly warmer than this dust, slightly less impossible than everything else going on around you. And sometimes 5 minutes is everything. Sleep isn't something you get out here. It's something you steal. In scraps. In pieces. In odd positions that would qualify as medical emergencies back home. You don't go to bed. You collapse. You don't rest. You shut down like a machine running too hot for too long. There's no bedtime, no routine, No warm light and soft pillow and gentle decompression. There's a cot, maybe. A sleeping bag. A crumpled sweatshirt used as a pillow because your issued one flattened itself into a pancake around week 3. You lie down in your gear because taking it off means putting it back on again in the dark, half asleep, and under pressure. You never sleep fully, not really. Your ears stay on, even with earplugs in, even under a fan. You hear boots walking by, radios chirping, someone coughing 3 tenths over. You hear the generator start to sputter and immediately calculate what happens if the power cuts out. The lights, the fridge, the radio gear. You go to sleep with backup plans running in your head. Some nights you sleep in shifts. 2 on, 2 off. Or maybe 4 on, 4 off if someone remembered to rotate. You get used to being woken up with a whisper and a boot tap to the shoulder. You sit up instantly, no matter how tired you are. Doesn't matter what dream you were in. Doesn't matter that you don't even remember falling asleep. You're awake now. That's all that counts. Other nights you're so tired you sleep in your truck. Engine humming, helmet off, weapon across your lap. Slumped against a window with sweat running down your neck and flies buzzing around your head like tiny, persistent failures. You don't care. The truck's in park. That means it's safer than most places. You nod off for 10 minutes and wake up with your mouth dry and your arm asleep. You call it a win. You learn to nap anywhere. On sandbags, against walls, in the shade of a Humvee, on a crate of bottled water. Your body doesn't care about posture anymore. It just needs to shut down before it starts making mistakes. You tell yourself 15 minutes will help. Sometimes it does. Sometimes you wake up groggier than before, wondering if you just blacked out with your eyes open. It's hot. Always. That never stops. You sweat while you sleep. Wake up sticky and itching. The sleeping bag clings to your skin like a film of failure. You shift positions constantly, trying to find one that hurts slightly less. There isn't one. Your shoulder pops when you turn. Your hip feels bruised from the last patrol. Your back is a letter of complaint written in knots. And just when you think maybe, you've got an hour left of semi-conscious peace, the base alarm goes off. Incoming. Mortars. You're up in seconds. You don't think. You just move. Now you grab your helmet, your vest, your weapon. Your boots go on without socks. You sprint to the bunker like it's normal. Because it is. Because this happens enough that you already have your route mapped out in your head, even when you're half asleep and blind in one eye from sweat and confusion. You crouch in a concrete cell with 15 other people, none of whom are fully awake. Someone's still wearing pyjama pants. Someone else has one boot on. No one talks. You listen. For the whistle, for the thud, for the sound that tells you if it landed inside or outside the wire. Sometimes there's a boom. Distant. No one reacts. Just eyes glancing at each other like, that one wasn't ours. Then the all clear comes minutes later. Everyone gets up. Slowly. No celebration. No relief. Just back to the tents. Back to the cots. Back to pretending sleep is still on the menu. But your adrenaline's already kicked in. Your brain's lit up like a grid. So you lie there. Eyes open. Listening to your heart try to slow down. It doesn't. Not for a while. You stare at the roof of the tent and count the mosquito holes in the canvas. You hear someone snoring. Someone else mumbling. Someone else whispering a prayer that ends without an amen. If you do fall back asleep, it's shallow. You dream in fragments. A meal you missed. A road you took last week. Your living room back home, but wrong. Your dog, but silent. You wake up confused, disoriented. Is it morning? Is it a drill? Is it real? You check your watch. 0:30. Cool. You get another hour before someone wakes you up to do it all over again. There are sleeping pills. Some guys take them. You don't. Not unless you're off duty and triple sure nobody needs you in the next 4 hours. Even then, you think about it too long. Being unconscious feels risky. Out here, sleep is always an agreement with the unknown. I'll close my eyes, but if something goes down, I'm ready. Probably. Some guys start drinking energy drinks just to stay awake longer, so they crash harder later. It's a vicious cycle. Caffeine, crash, caffeine again. You see the bags under their eyes deepen. You hear them get snappier, quieter, more brittle. You feel it in yourself too. You forget things. Words. Simple stuff. You stare at your boots for 5 minutes before remembering why you needed them. Eventually you adapt. Kind of. Your body learns to function on fragments, on naps between alarms, on 10-minute windows in trucks. You become half machine, half insomniac philosopher. You start saying weird things like 3 hours straight. That's the best sleep I've had in weeks. But it takes its toll. You feel it in the way your fingers tremble, in the way your vision gets weird around noon, in the way you forget how old you are for a second, then remember with a pang that somehow you're older than when you got here, even if it's only been 4 months. There's no such thing as a good night's sleep out here. Just short ones, interrupted ones. The kind of sleep that doesn't heal you, just delays the breakdown a little longer. You learn to dream with one eye open, to rest while half listening to your radio, to nod off with your weapon still on your chest and your helmet digging into your temple. And you pray quietly that if tonight's the night something falls out of the sky, it at least lets you finish the dream first. There are days out here when nothing happens. No mortars, no missions, no movement. Just you, the sun, and the slow erosion of your brain under layers of heat and repetition. You think that sounds like a break? It's not. It's just a different kind of war. Because boredom isn't a pause. It's pressure. A slow build-up. A tightrope walk between being tired and being too alert. You sit on your cot, staring at a wall that's not really a wall. Just canvas. You clean your rifle for the 6th time today. It doesn't need it. You do it anyway. Because idle hands out here don't just get restless. They get dangerous. Someone's playing cards, not for fun, just because it's something to do. No one's keeping score. Someone else is flipping through the same dog-eared magazine they've had since week 1. A guy sits outside the tent, watching the same patch of sky like it owes him an answer. The radio's on, but nothing's coming through except silence and the occasional crackle that gets everyone's head to snap toward it, just in case. You drink water. Not because you're thirsty, but because it passes time. You chew gum until your jaw clicks. You count the flies on the inside of the tent. You scratch your leg until it bleeds, just to feel something different. You stare at the dust, and wonder how it still looks the same after a week of patrols, storms, and life exploding around you. You try to distract yourself. Maybe there's a deck of cards, a movie on someone's busted laptop, a phone full of music that no longer feels like anything. The battery's low anyway. You go for a walk around the compound, 10 minutes, 1 lap, and you're back to square one, sitting on the same chair, holding the same thought hostage in your head. That's when the paranoia creeps in, because when things are quiet for too long, something has to be wrong. You feel it, you know it. It's too calm, too routine. You start scanning corners harder, watching shadows that haven't moved in hours. Every truck that drives past makes you reach for your rifle a little faster. Every silence on the radio feels like a warning. You tell yourself not to overthink it. You overthink it anyway. You hear noises at night. Not loud ones, just sounds. Metal shifting. Gravel crunching. A breeze that hits the tent, flap the wrong way, and makes your hand tighten on the grip of your weapon under your pillow. You don't get up. You just lie there, wide awake, waiting to find out if it's nothing again. You check your gear compulsively. Not because it's broken, because checking it keeps your hands moving. Plate carrier. Pouches, sling, mags, you rack the bolt. Clear. Reseat it. Rack again. Like maybe this time the click will sound different and give you something to focus on besides the endless sameness. You check the schedule again, then again. Hoping something changed, it didn't. You're still on duty at 0200, still posted in the same tower, still walking the same route past the same barrier that hasn't moved since you got here. You know, every crack in the wall, every creak of the floorboard, every stain on the plywood. Someone nearby starts arguing with themselves. Not loudly, just under their breath. You catch fragments, something about home, about someone not writing back. You pretend not to hear. Give them space. You've had your own conversations with walls before. It's normal here, or whatever passes for normal now. You start losing track of days, not because you're busy, because they all look the same. Monday feels like Thursday. Saturday is a myth. You count time in meals, in wake-ups, in ammo checks. You stopped marking a calendar because it felt like watching paint dry while being shot at. Sometimes, to shake it up, someone reorganises their gear, moves a pouch, switches a strap, like maybe adjusting your knife 3 inches to the left will help you sleep tonight. Spoiler, it won't. You check your reflection in the mirror, if you even have one. Your face looks the same, but your eyes are different. Harder, heavier, less interested in reacting to anything that doesn't immediately threaten your existence. You haven't smiled in 3 days. You fake one. It looks wrong. You write in a notebook. Not deep thoughts, just inventory, rifle count, meals eaten, number of clouds seen in the last hour. It's not therapy, it's just data. Something to fill the space between right now and still nothing. Then someone jokes. Something dumb. Something about the chow, or the heat, or the flies that won't leave the latrine. And everyone laughs too hard. Not because it's funny, because you need it to be. Because if you don't laugh now, the silence will get louder, and someone might start thinking again. That's the rhythm of it. Boredom, then paranoia, then boredom again. You sit with your back against a wall that can't protect you from anything but wind, waiting for something to happen, hoping it doesn't, dreading that it will. You keep your boots on. You don't bother unbuckling your vest anymore. You sleep with your gloves nearby, because out here, even when nothing's happening, everything still feels like it might. And when the day ends, it doesn't really end. The light just changes. You eat another bland meal, hear the same cough, scan the same road, clean your gear again, then lie back down and wonder if tomorrow will be exactly the same. Spoiler, it will. Your body starts breaking down in ways that aren't dramatic. It doesn't explode. It doesn't collapse. It just erodes. Quietly. Slowly. One day you're fine. The next, Your skin feels like it's turning into sandpaper dipped in regret. Welcome to the part of the deployment they don't put in recruiting posters. The body horror edition. It starts with the heat. Not just feeling hot, not sweat, not sunburn. It's the heat. The kind that turns your uniform into a damp prison and your skin into a canvas of blotchy red irritation. You get a rash, right where your vest presses into your back, then under your arms, then your inner thighs, then the waistband. It spreads. You try powder, doesn't help. Cream works for about 3 hours. Then you're back to itching yourself raw behind a shipping container like some kind of rabid raccoon. You don't tell anyone, because they've got it too. Everyone does. You see guys walking like they just got off a horse they weren't trained to ride, limping, shuffling, one hand awkwardly scratching somewhere they hope isn't visible. You all pretend it's nothing. Just the heat. Just the friction. Just deployment, eating your outer layer like a slow, sandy acid. Then there's your feet. At some point, your boots stop fitting right. You think they shrank? They didn't. Your feet just swelled. The blisters start showing up in places that shouldn't blister. The ball, the heel, the sides. You pop them. They come back, bigger. You wrap gauze. It sticks. Rips off skin when you pull it. You switch to duct tape. Someone says it's field proven. You believe them. Not because it works. Because hope is in short supply. Then the peeling starts. Layers of skin sloughing off like you're a snake that didn't get the memo it was supposed to shed once. You clean them, dry them, powder them, doesn't matter. They stay wet. Always. From sweat, from humidity, from socks that haven't been truly dry in weeks. The medics call it trench foot. You call it another day in paradise. And then, of course, there's the latrines, porta-johns, chemical toilets, plastic tombs of digestive misery. They sit out in the sun like they're trying to cook themselves from the inside. You can smell them before you see them. A mix of blue chemicals, human failure, and the unique stench of someone who ate 3 days' worth of MRE cheese spread and finally couldn't hold it anymore. The first time you use one, you try not to breathe. You hold your breath. In, out. You convince yourself you can do it in under 30 seconds. You fail. You gasp halfway through and it hits you like a fist made of ammonia and old soup. Your eyes water. Your stomach turns. But you keep going. Because your only other option is the sand, and command frowns on that. There's no airflow, just heat. You sit or squat, depending on the state of the seat, and try not to make contact with anything that isn't you. You balance. You hover. Your thighs shake. You pray your weapon doesn't slide off your lap and clatter to the floor. You don't know what lives on that floor. You don't want to find out. Some guys bring wipes. Some don't. Some steal rolls of TP from the DFAC and hide them in their rucks like currency. You learn quickly to guard your own stash. Nothing ruins your morning like sitting in a melting blue cube, reaching for the roll, and realising it's gone. Stolen. Empty. Or worse. Just wet cardboard now. You try to time your visits. Go when it's still dark, when the sun hasn't had a chance to cook the air into a chemical weapon. But sometimes you can't wait. Sometimes it hits you in the middle of a patrol, or right after chow, and you sprint, vest, rifle, boots and all, toward the nearest porta-john, like it's a race with dignity on the line. Sometimes you open the door and wish you hadn't. Someone's missed. Someone's made a mess. Someone's used it as revenge against the entire unit. You shut it. Pick another. Pray it's not worse. It's a gamble every time. A roulette wheel, where the prize is maybe not gagging. And after, you come out dripping. Sweat mostly. But maybe not just sweat. You walk 10 steps before realising your shirt stuck to your back in a new, suspicious way. You try not to think about it. You definitely don't bring it up. But the smell clings. It finds you. In your shirt, your gear, your nose. You lie in your cot later, hours later, after 3 patrols and a dust storm, and you still smell it. It's in your soul now. You try to sleep through it. You fail. Some guys avoid the latrines entirely, dig holes behind the barriers, use bags, MRE wrappers, improvised solutions that aren't better. They're just different. Less blue, more dirt, less chemicals, more flies. But at least they don't feel like being boiled alive inside a plastic coffin of shame. Eventually, your standards shift. A clean latrine means there's only one pile of something unholy in the urinal. A good one means the door locks and no one's kicked a hole in the side. The best one has toilet paper that hasn't been used to write passive-aggressive poetry about the chow hall. You stop being picky. You stop reacting. You stop looking disgusted. You just go in, do your thing, come out, and move on. Like nothing happened. Because out here, if you let yourself feel too much about any of this, it gets worse. And every once in a while you catch a whiff of something back home, clean laundry, fresh coffee, cold air, and your brain short-circuits. Because your body has adapted to things it should have never had to adapt to. Heat rash, foot rot, chemical toilets. You live with them now. Like roommates. Like a bad smell that you can't locate but also can't get rid of. You just keep moving. It's not about feeling better. It's about feeling less bad. And if today was a 2-wipe, no slip, no gag day, then maybe, just maybe, things are looking up. The locals don't wear uniforms. That's the first problem. You can't scan them like you scan your own guys. No rank, no patches, no unit identifiers. Just people in sandals and robes and mismatched clothes, moving through the same heat, same dust, same country, but from a different world entirely. And every interaction carries risk. Not because you're hostile, not because they are, because neither of you really knows what the other one is thinking. You see them during patrols. On the side of the road, in alleyways, behind market stalls that look like they were assembled from the leftover pieces of someone else's life. They nod. You nod back. That's it. You don't wave. You don't smile too wide. You keep your weapon at a natural angle, ready, but not threatening. Or at least that's the goal. But even your relaxed stance looks like aggression when you're covered in body armour and sunglasses and 6 pounds of sand stuck to your boots. Some kids run up to you. They want candy, gum, bottled water. You're told not to hand stuff out. Hearts and minds, not handouts, someone said in a briefing once. But when a 5-year-old holds up an empty water bottle and says nothing, just looks at you, dust in his eyelashes, sunburn on his cheeks, it's hard not to give him something. So you do. You toss a snack, or a Gatorade. Then 10 more kids appear from nowhere, like they're watching from the walls. And now you're either the nice guy or the fool. Or both. You try a few Arabic phrases. The basics. Salam, shukran, mish mushkila. It never sounds right coming out of your mouth. You say it, and they tilt their heads like they're deciding whether to laugh or answer. Some do smile. Some just stare. Some ignore you altogether. You don't take it personally. You can't. You're a foreign soldier in their neighbourhood, their country, their war, and the interpreters. You depend on them more than your own squad sometimes. Civilians who know both languages, both cultures, both sides. You listen when they speak. You trust them. But in the back of your mind, you also know, if they get something wrong, even one word wrong, it could be the difference between diffusing a situation and walking into an ambush. Sometimes you're posted at a checkpoint. Cars roll up, you wave them down. Ask them to step out. The driver looks nervous. That makes you nervous. He's sweating. You're sweating. He reaches under the seat and your heart climbs into your throat. Then he pulls out paperwork. You exhale through your teeth and pretend you never flinched. The worst is when you think someone is being friendly, but you can't be sure. A man offers tea. You're trained to say no politely, then trained to say yes when it builds rapport. So which is it today? You look at your sergeant. He shrugs. You sip the tea. It's hot. Too sweet. Too strong. You nod and say, Zane, even if it tastes like melted bricks. He smiles. You smile. Then you both go silent because you've run out of words in common. You hear stories. Everyone hears stories. The kid who smiled every day, until the day he led insurgents to the back gate. The family who waved to every convoy, until the one they didn't. The vendor who sold bread in the morning and planted an IED at night. You don't want to believe those stories, but you can't afford not to. So you remember them, quietly, when you're too tired to think, but too wired to sleep. Your body learns to read more than words. You watch hands, movements, eyes. You memorize how normal looks, so you can recognize when it's not. A glance held too long. A bag that doesn't swing naturally. A jacket worn when it's 115 degrees. You don't say anything. You just grip your rifle a little tighter and hope you're wrong. There are locals you work with daily. Iraqi army, police, contractors. Some are professionals. Some are clearly just here because they need the paycheck. You try to build trust. Eat the food they offer. Talk when you can. Keep it simple. Keep it respectful. You don't pretend you're the same. You're not. But you try to stay human. Because if you don't, everything becomes mechanical. And mechanical soldiers make mechanical mistakes. You learn to live in that tension, never fully trusting, never fully relaxed. Someone waves at you, you wave back, but your brain's already playing out 6 scenarios. Are they warning you, distracting you, filming you, just being kind? You'll never know. Not really. And the language barrier isn't just words, it's culture. Context. A shrug can mean yes. A nod can mean no. A smile might mean fear. Or apology. Or nothing at all. You can't afford to guess. But you have to, every single day. Then there are the ones you never speak to. Women who vanish behind doors. Old men who stare with eyes that have seen 4 occupations already. Teenagers who hang back, half curious, half hateful. You wonder what they think of you. You wonder what you'd think if it were flipped. If a foreign army patrolled your street every day, weapons drawn, smiling like it helped. Some days there's warmth, a real conversation, a shared laugh over bad coffee, a kid who says America good and makes your squad chuckle for the first time in hours. Other days you're met with silence, or worse, stares that burn through you like you're the one who doesn't belong, which of course you are. You try not to generalize. Try not to fall into the trap of them and us. But it's hard. When you're exhausted. When you've been on patrol for 9 hours. When your buddy just got medevaced after a roadside bomb, and someone 3 blocks over is smiling like it's just another Tuesday. You want to blame someone. You don't know who. So you blame the air, the war, the entire system that brought you here. Still, every time you go out, you hope it's the kind of day where the kids wave, and the tea's not too bad, and nobody flinches when your shadow crosses their doorstep. Because the only thing scarier than someone yelling at you out here is someone smiling when they shouldn't. You make it back on leave. Somehow. It doesn't feel real at first. Just a long flight, then another, then a few hours in a crowded terminal trying to remember how to sit in a chair without a weapon across your lap. You don't sleep. You don't talk much. You just watch the world blur back into colour as the plane touches down and nobody claps. The air smells different, cleaner, but it hits your nose wrong. Too sharp, too cold, too familiar, in a way that makes your stomach turn sideways. You're wearing jeans again, civilian clothes. They feel thin, soft, like you're walking around wrapped in paper. You miss the weight of the vest, even though it broke your back daily. Now you're light, and somehow that feels worse. You're standing in your kitchen. Everything's quiet. You know where the forks are. You know which cupboard has the coffee. But you still hesitate before opening a door, like you're waiting for someone to yell at you for touching something. Muscle memory from a life that doesn't apply here anymore. People ask if it's good to be home. You nod. You say, yeah, it's nice. They say they're proud of you. You say thanks. They ask what it was like. You say it was hot, busy, intense. You give safe answers, rehearsed ones, not lies, just pieces. Because the real version wouldn't land right in a living room filled with candles and throw pillows. Then one day someone says, we need to run to the store. You agree without thinking. Walmart. You used to go there all the time. You get in the passenger seat, fidget with the radio, make small talk about gas prices. You pull into the parking lot and immediately regret everything. There are people everywhere, moving fast, unpredictable, walking behind you, in front of you, talking loudly, not watching their corners. No spacing, no security. Just civilians doing normal things in a world that never had to brace for impact. You walk through the sliding doors and your brain spikes like it just stepped on tripwire. Too many lights, too much motion, carts squeaking, kids screaming. Music from 3 aisles away competing with an announcement about discount laundry detergent. Your hands twitch. You reach for a rifle that isn't there. You scan. That's what you do now. Constantly. Exit signs. Cameras. Who's holding what? Where the threats might be. You're not panicking. Not visibly, but your pulse has doubled and your jaw's locked. And you can't stop evaluating people like they're part of a tactical scenario. You look for cover, a concrete pillar, a freezer chest, anything solid. Then you realise what you're doing and try to stop. You can't. So you push the cart, slowly, one hand. You make it to the snack aisle. Someone brushes past you too fast, and your body tenses before your brain catches up. It's just a guy in a hoodie. He says sorry. You nod and pretend you didn't almost flinch. Someone drops a bottle in the next aisle. It shatters. The sound echoes. You freeze. For a full second, you're back on a patrol where that noise meant everything just changed. You look around. No one else reacts. Just you. You laugh. Quietly. Awkwardly. Your palms are sweating. At checkout, the cashier asks if you found everything okay. You say yes. You lie. What you found was that your body doesn't know how to relax anymore. That even under fluorescent lights and air conditioning, your brain is stuck in a place where anything can go wrong, and probably will. You get home and sit on the couch like a guest in your own life. Someone asks how the trip went. You say it was fine. You don't mention the part where walking past a balloon display made you feel like someone was about to pull a pin. You don't mention how you scoped out the exit doors before you even grabbed a cart. You try to relax, play a game, watch a movie. Everything moves too fast or too slow. The volume feels wrong. The jokes don't land. The war is still playing in your head on a separate channel. You're just watching the show in front of you, out of politeness. Friends want to hang out. You go. You sit at the bar, back to the wall, eyes on the entrance. You sip a beer and make conversation, but your brain's already calculated where you'd move if someone came in yelling. You smile, nod, ask questions. Say you're good. Say you're glad to be back. But you don't feel back. Not really. You feel like a version of yourself is still overseas, still in uniform, still sweating under a plate carrier, still listening to distant echoes and waiting for them to get closer. This version just knows how to hide it better in public. Home is supposed to feel safe, but safety's a muscle, and you stopped using it months ago. Now everything's a maybe. Every noise a potential threat. Every casual interaction a possible test. You sleep, but not well. The bed's too soft. The quiet is too loud. You wake up sweating at 3 a.m, hand halfway to a weapon that isn't there. You stare at the ceiling and wonder how long you have before you have to go back. And part of you wants to. Not because you like it, not because it's better, but because at least over there you understood the rules. Eventually, the leave ends. You get the text, or the call, or the email. Whatever it is, it doesn't say much. Just your name, your flight, your report time. And that's that. You pack your bag again, though most of it never really got unpacked. You say goodbye, but it feels off. No tears, no big speeches. Just a quiet nod and an awkward hug in the driveway while the neighbours pretend not to stare. You land back in theatre. Heat hits you like it's been waiting, like it missed you. Sand finds your boot instantly. Your cot's still there, slightly shifted. Your gear smells the same. Your body slides back into routine, like it never left, because it didn't. Not really. But when the real homecoming happens, the one where you're done, it's different. There's no parade, no applause, just a long line at customs and a bus ride that smells like feet and diesel. People clap at the airport sometimes. It's awkward, loud, misplaced. You thank them anyway, because that's what you're supposed to do. Your family picks you up. You hug them. They cry. You smile. It feels like a performance. And you hate that it feels like that. You want to mean it more than you do, but your brain's still stuck in theatre. You keep scanning rooftops on the drive home. You flinch when a truck backfires 3 lanes over. Your old room is the same, but different. Posters you forgot you owned. Drawers full of clothes that don't fit. A bed that creaks when you shift. The quiet feels fake. Like the calm before a storm you forgot how to name. You sit on the edge of the mattress and feel like you've taken someone else's seat. Friends want to grab drinks. You go. They say stuff like, "Man, it must feel good to be home." You nod. They ask what it was like. You give them your usual answer. Hot, long, sand everywhere. They laugh. You don't. They talk about sports, work. Someone got a new truck. Someone else broke up with their girlfriend. You pretend to listen, but your mind is still 6 time zones behind, checking sectors that don't exist anymore. You walk into a store and it's just things. Shiny, neatly stacked. Choices, so many choices. which cereal, which socks, which anything. You stand in one spot too long, overwhelmed by the simple act of picking shampoo. A lady asks if you're okay. You say yes. She walks away. People keep saying welcome back. You say thank you. People keep asking if you're glad it's over. You say yeah. They say things like, well, at least it's behind you now. You nod, but inside you want to say, what if it's not? Because it didn't end when you left the base. It didn't end at the gate or the airport or the driveway. It stuck, clung, like sand in your skin or static in your ears. You see flashes, not nightmares, just replays. Things that weren't even dramatic. A road, a meal, a guy leaning too far over a balcony. You remember every detail because your brain made it habit. You're not jumpy, not exactly. You just don't trust the world to stay still anymore. You sit in restaurants with your back to the wall. You walk a little faster in crowds. Loud noises make you scan first, react later. Someone drops a plate and your chest tightens for reasons that don't make sense at a dinner party. Your sleep stays weird. Some nights you wake up drenched, heart pounding. No memory of a dream, just the feeling that you were supposed to be somewhere, doing something, watching someone six. Then you look around and realise there's nothing here but ceiling fan shadows and an alarm clock blinking 3:11 a.m. You try to explain. Sometimes you say stuff like, it's just hard to adjust, or things feel different now. Most people nod sympathetically, then change the subject. A few ask follow-ups. Fewer wait for your answers. Nobody wants the real version. They want the clean one, the safe one, the version that sounds like closure. You go to the VA. Sit in a room with others who have the same posture, same stare, same quiet laugh when someone mentions paperwork. You fill out forms. You check boxes. You talk to someone who says take your time, but only has 45 minutes. You try to tell them it's not one big thing. It's all the small ones, the dumb ones, the slow days, the boring hours filled with heat and static, and thoughts that have nowhere to go. You leave the appointment with a pamphlet and a phone number. You stick them in your glove box. You won't call, not yet. People ask if you're going back. You say you're not sure. You don't tell them part of you already has. Part of you never left. That part still checks the gate before entering a room. Still dreams in convoy routes and 5-metre intervals. Still hears the radio crackle in your head sometimes when it's too quiet. You go for a walk. No gear. No vest. Just you and a sidewalk and the sound of your own breathing. A car passes slowly and you tense. Not panic. Just readiness. That's what you call it now. Readiness. Like your body's waiting for a command that's never going to come. You start saying less. Listening more. People mistake it for calm. It's not. It's calculation. It's the part of you still running comms with a world that's already moved on. You're home, but not really. It's been months now, maybe longer. You've lost count. People stopped asking where you've been. You stopped telling them. They assume you're better, back to normal, that the war is behind you, because it's not on the news anymore, and your uniform's in a box under the bed. You let them believe it. It's easier that way. But the war didn't end when you landed. It didn't end when the deployment did. It stayed. It changed shape, got quieter, found smaller ways to show up. A sound, a smell, a street corner that looks too much like somewhere else. It doesn't knock anymore. It just walks in. You can be driving. Windows down, radio on, everything fine. And then something shifts. A truck gets too close. A pothole hits wrong. Someone merges without a signal. And your hands are already tightening around the wheel before you even realise what you're doing. You tell yourself to breathe. You do. It doesn't help. You walk into a crowded room and your brain starts scanning. Exit. Cover. Line of sight. Your friend says something and you laugh at the right moment, but your head's still clocking the guy near the back with both hands in his hoodie pocket. Just in case. Always just in case. You keep your back to the wall. You know it's cliché. You don't care. You sleep light. You sit with your foot against the door when you're alone in unfamiliar places. You take the long route sometimes. Avoid alleyways. Avoid fireworks. Avoid eye contact with people who don't know how tired you are. Not physically. Just tired. You look fine. That's part of the problem. You hold a job. You show up on time. You laugh at jokes. You function. You've trained for this. You've trained for worse. But functioning isn't the same as living. You know that now. You feel it every time you catch yourself drifting mid-conversation, wondering what sector this road would fall under if it were in Iraq. Your mind still sorts things by risk. Every place you go, every situation, risk assessed, threat imagined, exit planned. You don't even notice it anymore. It's background noise. A loop your brain runs without permission. Sometimes you see people who are over there with you. You talk. Not much. Mostly in pieces. A few words. A short joke. Something dark. Something that wouldn't land anywhere else. They nod. You nod? That's it. That's all it takes to know you're not the only one still carrying it. And yeah, you have good days, of course you do. Days where the sun hits right and the coffee's hot and your hands don't shake when you pick it up. Days where you feel almost normal. But even then, the edge is still there. Not sharp. Not screaming. Just present. A dull awareness that never fully leaves the room. You don't hate the war. That's not the feeling. You don't romanticize it either. You just remember it. All of it. And memory becomes muscle. Reflex. Pattern. You sit a certain way, walk a certain way, trust a certain way, because that's how you survived it. People ask if you go back. You say no. Or maybe. Depends on the day. Truth is, part of you already did. Part of you never stopped. You still think in call signs. Still instinctively look left-right before crossing any threshold. You still calculate danger faster than you process conversation. You've learned how to live with it. Mostly. You know which situations drain you. Which people set you off. Which hours of the night are worse than others. You know when to take a breath. When to leave. When to lock yourself in a bathroom for 2 minutes just to let your heart slow down. You don't want pity. You don't even want praise. You just want space. Room to exist without being asked to explain what it felt like to spend a year under a sky that hated you. You want to be allowed to be quiet without someone calling it a mood. You try to be patient. With them. With yourself. But it's hard. Because most days you feel like a translation of a language no one's speaking anymore. The uniform's folded up in a bin in your closet. Boots under the bed. Medals in a drawer you don't open. And you walk past them without looking. But they're there. Like everything else. Stored. Neat. Not forgotten. Just contained. The war never leaves. It just waits. In the gaps. In the silences. In the seconds between heartbeats when your guard slips and you remember, clearer than you want to, that it didn't break you. But it took something. Something you don't quite have words for. And maybe never will. You close the laptop, or the book, or whatever you were using to follow along. Maybe it helped. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it just filled some space between now and the next thing. You lie there, still. You hear the hum of something. Maybe your AC, maybe a memory. The air feels too cold, or not cold enough. You shift your legs, adjust the blanket, try to let the weight of all of it, what you just heard, what you didn't, settle into the background. It doesn't matter if you understand every part of it. That's not the point. Some things aren't meant to be wrapped up. They're just meant to be carried. Good night, or whatever time it is. Close your eyes if you want. It's quiet now. Mostly.